While it's building our audience right now, if you could go and we've got, we'll talk about that in a second, but go to Black Folks Camp 2 and like their page, as well as share and like Boss Up Academy for business updates. Also go to our IG page. We both have IG pages, Black Folks Camp 2 and Bossed Up Academy as well, and like us on there as well as YouTube. I see we got some people that are logging on, and while we're waiting for our Facebook to build our audience, if you have any questions about business, please drop them so that we may answer your questions today, because this is a great opportunity. I'm going to go ahead and let Earl start introducing himself.
Erica, first of all, thank you so much for allowing me to be a part of this podcast. And I got to tell you, I really like that name, Boss Up Academy. It's pretty slick. All right. So good job on that. Well, listen, my name is Earl B. Hunter Jr. I'm actually the founder and president of an organization, a company entitled Black Folks Camp 2. We are not a group on Facebook. We are not a community group. We are a full-fledged business. My background is I build businesses for a living. I'll go into a business and I'll look at their not only just their P&L, but look at how they focus and how they do things, and I try to change those things. And so I've been in international business, international sourcing when I was traveling to Asia a lot. I've been to I'm in the outdoor industry. So before I started Black Folks Camp 2, I was the vice president in sales of a company entitled Sylvan Sport. And when I arrived 4.5 years ago at Sylvan Sport, that particular company made and manufactured small campers. Well, when I arrived, the company was, I think we're maybe 7 to 8 employees. They were doing about $815,000 in revenue per year. And they had done that for 9 years. So in 4 years, upon my arrival, we did $17.5 million in 4.5 years. So I pride myself on going in and my management style is a little hugging and a little shoving. And if I shove you too much, you're pretty much on your way out the door. If I hug you, you're in good graces, probably because you're a hard worker and you want to drive the business. And that's who I am. In regards to Black Folks Camp 2, Black Folks Camp 2 is an amazing company. We derive and our company launched October the 10th, 2019. Our name is unique. Our body is unique. And for me, being an executive in the outdoor industry, our company, our mission is to get more Black folks to enjoy the outdoors, to remove generational fear, add some knowledge, and invite more Black folks to camp. That's who we are. That's what we do.
All right. And then people suffering from depression and different mental issues, and when you connect with nature, that often helps with that. And also, like they say, getting back to bonding and spending time with your family without interruption of technology.
Right. I think one of the biggest things, Erica, right now with Black Folks Camp 2, listen, I always tell people, I'm not the pioneer of getting Black folks to go camping, okay? I am the pioneer of getting Black folks to be invited already to the camp, get invited to the campsite. Everybody else camp except for us. And when I say everybody else camp except for us, I'm not saying all of us, we don't camp. I'm saying Black folks don't camp. We're trying to get more Black folks to go camp, especially in the South. Because if we're honest, there's a lot of generational fear, right? A ton of generational fear where your great grandmother and grandmother told your mother, and your mother told most Black folks in my age group, hey, listen, don't go in those woods. Well, when you don't want to do something, and when you're told not to do something, well, then you don't have any knowledge, right? And then the last thing is, you go to a Dick's Sporting Goods or a RAI or heavily operated bike shops, you don't see Black folks being featured. And that, for me, is changing. My company, we work with some of the largest companies in the industry to get Black folks featured, to get get more knowledge, and again, to remove those generations of fear by just content. That's who we are.
All right. Well, since we know that you come from the corporate world into the private sector now, that was the reason that I wanted to invite you on here, because now with the pandemic going on, I know that a lot of people are working from a gig point of view, and they need to transition themselves into business so that way they can qualify for some of this federal money that's being given out, and also understanding how to leverage themselves when they're going to banks in order to receive funding, because we know with funding comes leverage. And a lot of people are scared of debt, but they don't understand leverage.
Well, you know, that's good debt and that's bad debt, right?
Right.
So go ahead. Your next question. You had a question. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Explain to us, give us a general overview of business itself.
Well, I tell you, the first thing I always tell people is that the first thing you have to have in business, you have to have some passion, right? Once you get the passion in line with what you're trying to get done, now there's the fact of how you're going to pay for everything. How you going to get started? I don't care if you started a hometown barbecue spot, or you're selling millions and millions and millions of mobile phones, or you're trying to get Black folks to go camping. The first thing I always tell everyone is that after you have some passion, you're going to have some cash flow, right? Cash flow is a big deal. And I tell people about cash flows because you have to generate cash flow from somewhere. Either you have the cash yourself, or you're able to get that cash flow from different entities, financial entities, or you have investors. You have to get that cash flow from somewhere. And that cash flow is going to allow you to not only pay yourself, purchase your goods, but to sustain your business, right? Sustain the particular business that you have. I've always thought this way, whether it be big business or small business. Cash flow is so essential when you want to do things. The best time to have not to have cash, when you need cash, you need to have cash, right? And you generate cash, again, 3 different ways to me. You either have your own cash flow, you're actually able to borrow that cash flow from your bank or your banking institute, or you have investors, right? And I've been a part of both, right? I mean, I've been a part of all 3. Right now, this particular entity that we have now, we are fully ran and cash driven and cash floated by me, myself, and I. At the same time, though, there are investors all across the country right now wanting to be a part of Black Folks Camp 2 because of how dope we are.
Okay. So of the 3, what would you suggest? If you say your personal money, investors, or from financial institutes, bankings, which one, as a person that's starting out in a business that may be limited on the personal aspect?
Well, the next thing is the credit. Credit is unbelievable. The first thing that banks are going to ask from businesses that are starting out, they want to see your P&L. They want to see profit and loss. When you don't have that, they want to see, how long you've been in business. Many banks won't even lend you any cash if you don't have if you hadn't been in business, you don't have any P&Ls, you don't have any profit, you don't have anything, any sales or anything like that. So for me, I've done it 2 ways. I remember the first business I ever started, Erica. The first business I started a company called Second Friday. It was in Rock Hill. I'll never forget that. It was one of the most lucrative businesses I've ever been a part of in my life. I can remember not having really the cash flow to bankroll this business because it was going to take probably $20,000 to $30,000 for me to get it done at the time. And I was working corporate. It was amazing. I was making a ton of money, but I was trying to figure out a way how to leverage my personal credit versus my assets and my income. And so I went directly to the bank and I put my house on the line. I used my home as equity, my equity in my home as a means for me to get cash flow to start my business. So to answer your question, if you're able to leverage any banking institute or leverage any investment, I always say go that route, because if you believe in your business and you think your business is the deal and you think you understand that what you're doing, it could be profitable and things of that nature. I always go with using somebody else's money, to be frank with you, if I can get that done.
Right. And so I guess this is kind of where a business plan will come into place.
Absolutely. So the most banks, again, they're not going to lend you any cash flow. Most investors are not going to have, if it's a legitimate business, are not going to take part into your business unless you have a plan for them. And so you have to have a business plan right up front. I would encourage everyone on this call who's listening to this to take some Excel classes. That way you can be formidable in regards to numbers. And if you're not strong in that, you need to get someone on your team to help you build out this particular business plan. I believe, and if I'm not mistaken, Eric, I believe you offer that type of solution for a lot of people to help them understand what a business plan looks like, how that works, and how you can actually drive that when you're actually going out to drive and getting funding for your business.
Right. And I tell people all the time that if the banks have to borrow money, why shouldn't you?
Absolutely.
They have more money than we do. So why wouldn't you want to borrow money to take that money to make more money?
I think one of the things is, especially what I've seen in a lot of communities, and I'm going to stay in the Black community for a minute. One of the things is that there's a lot of financial literacy needs to take place. For so long we thought credit was a joke. We thought credit didn't really mean much. But my uncles have taught me that credit was a big deal. And I always wanted to keep my credit score at 700. That was the deal back then. If I can get my credit score to 700, banks tell you can get anything you want, And so for me, I believe that once the financial literacy takes place, right? And once you understand how credit works and why credit is so important. And just like you said, Erica, if banks are having to borrow money and other entities, some of the larger companies in the world are borrowing cash and need cash to be sustainable, why shouldn't you? And the only reason that most people, small businesses don't do that, either they don't know, they don't show, or they don't want to know. Meaning that they just don't know how to do this. They don't know that they need this credit. They don't know that a lot of this is tied to them personally, and they're kind of scared, right? They figure if the business belly ups, then everything I have is going to belly up at the same time. And to some people, that's real scary. To me, I bank everything on the fact that I'm a dog, and I feel like I can drive the business no matter what. And so I'll go out and borrow whatever I need to drive the business. And the other thing is, though, it's been seen that borrowing money and borrowing from the bank is a bad thing. It's been seen that you shouldn't be borrowed. You should have your own money. I gotta save up enough money for me to get my business started. No, what you need to do is make sure your credit is proper. Make sure you have some assets, and then drive the business.
Right. And going back to last week with Ruth Chris, I mean, people were upset and mad.
I wasn't mad at Ruth Chris. Here's the thing. The reason why I wasn't mad at Ruth Chris is because of this. Ruth Chris was doing business as usual. This is what they do. They find ways to get money. And so if there was some issues with the oversight of how they got the money or why they got the money, you don't blame Ruth Chris. You blame the individuals who gave them the money. If there is some blame. Right. But at the same time, if you read through a lot of the CARE Act, it talked about restaurants, and a lot of small restaurants didn't know about the way that Ruth Chris got the money, right? It didn't talk about them being a small business. It talked about the fact that they were a restaurant. There was a added phrase in there just talking about restaurants alone. And then back to Ruth Chris for a minute. Listen, Ruth Chris itself, a high-end restaurant, but the people that work for Ruth Chris are not all the ones that work in the restaurants. Man, they're not all high-end individuals. They needed the PPP too. They needed to get paid too. They needed all these things. Again, Ruth Chris did what big businesses do, but in all honesty, Ruth Chris did what most businesses should be doing in the first place, figuring out a way how to get money when the times are hard and when you need the money, right?
Right. And then it's a part of your being proactive rather than reactive.
Yep.
And wait until you actually, even though they still had so much capital of their own,
right.
But you don't know what 6 months gonna bring from now.
Right. And so that's the thing, man. This is the thing I've always been taught. Don't count somebody else's money. Don't count somebody else's money, because you don't know what someone has going on. You don't know what kind of acquisitions they were involved in. You don't know if they were. You just don't know those things. And why they got the $20 million is minute to the fact that, to me, the fact that they were able to go early and figure out how to get the money. And that's another story in regards to being early. Like, for instance, my bank actually contacted me in regards to this particular situation, in regards to the CARE Act. They contacted me. They were proactive, right? Because if you think about banks, you look at Wells Fargo, man. Wells Fargo, they're looking to make $10 billion just on fees alone. So why wouldn't they contact individuals who need to take advantage of this particular process?
And that goes back to having a relationship with banking, because so many people, like I said, when they are in the gig mindset rather than the business mindset, a lot of times they don't even know who the people are within the banks, and the people within the banks don't know who they are. Right. And they don't have business accounts set up because they're doing Cash App, Zelle, and they gotta transition that mindset to business rather than buying yourself a gig or a job.
Well, let me preface a few things. I'm gonna write these things down so I won't forget it too. So the first thing is, let me hit on this. Number one, I've said this many times over. Everybody can't be an entrepreneur, right? Everyone can't be an entrepreneur because somebody has to work for them, right? At some point, right? Right. But the people who want to really get into being entrepreneurs, I'm gonna tell you right now, it's tough. All right. So when you say that I want to be an entrepreneur because I don't want to work that much, well, get that out of your mind. Get that out of your mind. Just throw that away. Right? Throw that completely away. Number two, this is a very important part. I've always been taught you have to do the things you need to do the things you want to do, right? Let me say that again. You have to do the things you need to do the things you want to do. When you filing taxes quarterly, getting your EINs, building business relationships with the banks, getting a business account, making sure you pay your taxes on time and things of that nature, it's hard stuff. And sometimes an individual, when you have most people have businesses that don't have any employees, it's tough. And I know it is. And you feel like you don't have the money to pay somebody to do this. Listen, I'm not one of the most savviest guys in the industry when it comes to taxes and things of that nature. But I'm savvy enough to know that I need to go find somebody that is smarter than me in that particular realm. And those things that we have to learn in business, and those are some hard lessons that people actually have to learn when you're driving the business. And the third thing is, and probably one of the most important of them all, is this. I think that everyone on the planet should start a business, should start it. That don't necessarily mean should sustain it, but should start it. And the reason why, because if a person starts a business and get into a business and they see that they're going to find out the business is not as easy as they think it is. And so when you're on your job and you're talking down to the boss and you're figuring out how to get out of this, and you're not on time, you're not coming to work, you're mad at the boss, you're upset because the boss is making more money, and yada, 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 you then find out that it's not as easy as you think it is. As a matter of fact, there are a ton of businesses right now, and I can guarantee you Ruth Chris is one of them. Companies trying to figure out, man, how they're going to help their employees, how they're going to save their business, and things of that nature. There are a lot of companies out there that are struggling. There are a lot of big companies out there having to figure out they're going to furlough, lay people off, but those people are tied to the makeup of the business. So look, it's not as easy as people think it is. And so that's why I'm glad, Erica, that we're talking about these things. And we're going to talk about a few more things as well, how we're going to drive this.
Okay, let's get into P&L.
P&L. So P&L, I like to break this thing down really simple, which is mean profits and loss. Your profits, is what you made, right? Your gross profit, right? We'll talk about net profit here in a minute, and then your losses. Listen, you cannot run a business for 20 years, 10 years, and never make any money, right? I just don't believe that is formidable. And so when that happens, though, and something like this happens that we're having with COVID-19, and then now you've run your business at a loss for so long, right? And then now you're wanting to reap benefits of cash flow or cash that you need from some of these SBAs. It's not going to happen because you can't show losses and say and then say that you're a profitable company. It just doesn't work that way, right? And so just kind of keep it simple in regards to P&Ls. Basically you have to make sure that your revenue versus your expenses are basically your P&L. It's real simple, right? Your revenue versus your expenses is P&L. And so if your revenue is $40 or $50, if your revenue is $50 and you and your spent or your losses are $40, well, there you go. You have to understand where your numbers lie and how those numbers lie, whether you're making $4 million a year versus $40 a year. And P&Ls, it's a lot of these terms, and I told Erica before I called, I like to keep it simple with people. I call it KISS. Keep it simple, stupid. I try to keep it simple with people when it comes to P&L and profit and loss. Your revenue versus your losses, that's your P&L. And you have to show these things when you're actually dealing with banks. You have to show these things when you're dealing with investors. And if you're really true to yourself about your business, you're going to be able to have to show those things as well, right?
And people want to avoid paying taxes a lot of times, and that's why they want to show that loss, or that way they're always running in the negative. But taxes are a part of your business that you got to set aside, because you can't continue to run in the negative, because it's inevitable that you're going to get audited by the IRS.
At some point. At some point, it's going to happen. I mean, you have to understand, the IRS, and just like everybody else, is in business to make money, and so they're going to make sure that you're on the up and up with everything. I always tell people, man, you don't want to get into that. You don't want to be messing around with the IRS.
They work for the mafia.
You don't want to be messing around with the IRS, man. They are. I don't even want to say anything bad about the IRS. I love you. I love you. You're the best. You're the best thing I've ever seen in my life, right? I would encourage everyone, though, when you talk about the tax situation, I would encourage every business, when you don't have a true understanding of taxes, which it took me a while to really understand why the taxes, what tax brackets and not just brackets, how my schedule sees and things of that nature. Everything that I had to understand in regards to taxes, I had to really go into and have a sit down with someone who was educated on that to really teach me and to get my game on, because I'm out driving the business. I need to make sure on the back end that the business is not driving me. So I had to learn, you had to file your taxes quarterly. Some people file them yearly, which I don't really agree with. I think quarterly or semi-monthly is the thing to do. That's just me.
Okay. And it kind of keeps you on track, so then that way you don't have that big tax bill at the end of the year and you're like, oh my God.
Right. And so the other thing is, I one of the best businesses that the coolest businesses that I like, and I know they're taking a hit right now, but I love beauty salons and barbershops. I love those businesses. And because they're cash flow businesses, number one, they used to be cash flow business a lot more until now we've gotten to be automated. But the biggest problems a lot of those businesses have, a lot of those individuals have, is that most barbers and salon stylists, they're their own boss. They basically have a business, and so they have to file their taxes just like a quote unquote a business with the storefront. And I tell people all the time is that I tell those particular individuals, make sure you're doing that quarterly, because you can easily forget, especially when you're getting a lot of cash in, right?
And so I think that people not only to use a P&L for tax purposes, but also to find out where you can get leaner within your business to see where your wasters are, so that way you essentially can make more money by knowing where you're spending money, where you're losing money. You know, is the phone company charging me for things that I'm not even using right now, and I could scale that phone bill back $100 a month? That's $1,200 a year. That could be buffing in your taxes that you're trying to avoid paying because of limited cash flow.
It's funny you said that too, because I was actually maybe 5 years ago, I was in an industry where what we actually we called on companies, and we actually went into companies and helped them lower their costs, whether their cost of goods or whatever it may be. We helped them lower their costs. And what we found is, as a digging through there, not only just, they didn't necessarily let us see all their P&L, trust me, but they showed us numbers enough to show. They basically said to us, look, we need to save 20% on our cost of goods. We need to save 20%. How are you going to get me there? Well, we were not in the business of marketing. We were not in the business of sales. We were not in the business of sweeping floors or making cars or anything else. Our job was to find ways to help that particular customer save money on the parts and things of that nature they bring in from other countries, right? And that being said, when we saved them that 20%, it went straight to their bottom line. And that was added to their P&L, you know, and it helped them. It helped them not only show more profit, but it really sized them up. And you can size up your company to know where you can actually cut some more fluff, some more additive things. Once you're able to see and cut in areas that make a big chunk, you start saving money. You start actually saving money, and you start to dive into the small things, even down to toilet paper at the company. It was unbelievable the amount of money we were able to save them.
And so, and then also, if you're able to say that would be places that you can expand your business to make even more money.
Well, good point you made too, because just in my business, you know, I'm a 40% guy, right? I know it sounds weird to a lot of my friends when I tell them I want to make 40%. I look at a 40% margin on everything. Am I making 40% on everything? No, but that is a goal, and I got to be and I use that goal when I'm talking to my staff because they're tied into that 40% too, right? And so with that being said, when we're able to save money on our gear, when we're able to save money on our podcast provider and things of that nature, or we're able to say, or for instance, when we're able to buy our own product and send it off to get embroidery and things of that nature, saves us 13%. We could take that 13% now and use that for marketing, right? We could take that 13%, and actually what we've been using it for lately is helping prop up some of my friends' businesses that are actually not doing as well, to be frank with you. And so it's kind of a blessing in disguise. It's almost like now I tell them now, you know, now you understand why this 40% is important, right? And on that point too, Jessica, I'm sorry, Erica, this is really on that point. You know, I've heard a lot of individuals talk about companies. You know, these companies not paying us very much. You know, they don't understand how that we need more money, more wages, and things of that nature. Listen, there are a lot of companies out there. I'm not going to argue that, but there are a lot of companies out there that are paying people right now to sit at home and do nothing. And because out of the generosity of their hearts and their business to do that. And I think that's important for people to understand, is that individually as an employee and things of that nature, you can't think about how bad the company is doing me, when right now in these times there are a lot of people that are getting paid at home. There are a lot of people that companies have said, listen, we're gonna take a loss in profitability to make sure that you are able to feed your family. And that being said, I've always been that way in regards to our company. And that's why we try to make a higher margin. So when things like this happen and we have to do a little pivot, we have the cash flow to do what we need to get done.
And to our small business owners, that you don't want things like this within the first 2 weeks to come and wipe you out.
Well, the survey, survey says, and just all the data says that, most people, and I have to think about business as well, have about 2 weeks of cash saved to survive, right? 2 weeks. And, just imagine, there's been a long gap. There was more than 2 weeks before, some of the stimulus money came through for a lot of companies and individuals. And so, it's this particular situation that's happening right now, that we're in right now, is totally different from 2008, right? When the housing market crashed, or when financial in the bank. This is affecting everyone, right? And this is it's like if you're in the housing market in 2008, you can't go over to the business that was doing well, the auto business still, and say, hey, can I borrow $50,000-$60,000? Man, everybody's catching it, So I'm a margin guy. I like margin.
So, and that's a part of knowing your numbers. And I used to run my P&L like every 3 months, but now you don't have 3 months to waste to find out that you need to be cutting back in some places. So now we've kind of made it a business model or best practice that we run our P&L every month. So then that way we know when we need to be tightening reins on certain things or letting loose on other things.
It's funny you said that, because I just had a conversation with my team, my social media guy, and we had a conversation, and I sent him an email, and I said, listen, we're going to cut back on some of the money we're spending via social media, but in different areas. We're going to increase our spending in one area in content. We're going to increase our spending in regards to videos and things of that nature, but we're going to pull some numbers back in regards to say Pinterest and things of that nature. We want to be able to see direct calls, direct pointed. We want to see these numbers working for us right now, right? Because this is a right now market. This is a reset, restart, right? For a lot of companies. And I'm of the mindset of, I think we're in the best business in the world right now, to be frank with you. And so we're not pulling back. We're actually turning it on. We're just divvying up where we spend our money, which I think is smart to do that P&L every month. And Erica, to be frank with you, I normally do mine every 3 months anyway. And I dialed it back last month. We did it every 2 months. I think he just encouraged me to do it every month and make a business case out of it, be frank with you.
Right. And so I just found that worked better for me because, like I said, the 3 months, it seemed like it was too much of a gap to know, hey, we need to close it. And when you were talking about marketing right now, a lot of people are holding back on marketing, but they don't understand that they need to put their marketing on steroids right now because and Warren Buffett said it in a quote, when people are greedy, be fearful. But when people are fearful, you need to be greedy. Because while your competition is holding back, this is your time to get out front and shine.
Yeah. Well, look at this. I got to tell you, Erica. So in our business right now, we had to hold people. We had to grab. In October through December and January. We had to hold people. It was always like we were fighting for people's attention. We were like, oh, we gotta fight for the attention. We're spending a ton of money on social media. We have to fight for the attention. Now everybody is right in front of their screen, right where we need them to be, so we can give them this knowledge. And again, content for us has allowed us to do some things. We have posts that have gotten 50,000 views, right? And shared almost 1,200 times. And we spent a minimum amount of money at that particular time, less than we would spend any other time. So this is the time to turn it up. Don't be scared, baby. Let's go.
Right. That's what I say. Become omnipresent.
Absolutely. Drive the business. That's the thing. And when I say drive the business, get at the wheel, put your hands on the wheel, and drive the business. This is when your passion should be turned all the way up. This is when even that night when you know that you may not have the cash flow to do X, Y, and Z, your marketing is important. It's majorly important right now, especially right now while everybody's in front of these screens. And here we are, you and I would normally probably have this particular meeting face to face. And here we are right now on live doing this, and thousands of people can see this.
Right. And so another thing with, and just to touch on this before we conclude, is how do you spend this money, this stimulus money? A lot of people have the mindset that they want to go and pay everything off so that they know that they're good, whereas you need to be out here expanding so that way you can be generating more revenue to pay those bills off, because if you spend that money, it's gone.
No. Well, let me just say this to you, Eric. I don't know. I think you may be my sister from another mister, man. we think the same exact way. All right, in regards to that, because a friend of mine in Atlanta, he's a very astute businessman, and he called me right when the everything was kind of shutting down, right? And he said, man, he said my company's taking a real hit right now. He said, but I'm in the mindset, I think I want to start buying some stuff, right? So he shared with me a couple of different businesses in the area that were looking to close anyway before COVID-19 happened. And here this guy is, most people are panicking. He's trying to figure out how to go position himself to buy some things, to buy some companies that he thought was really, really good, right? We thought that had a very good foundation. We thought the foundation was what they needed was a better roof, because they had some leaks in the roof, right? Or maybe they didn't have any tint on the windows in regards to the company's concerned. Maybe they were top heavy in regards to their cost versus their revenue. Or the main part is that he had to trim some fat, possibly in regards to those employees that necessarily didn't bring any value to the company, right? And so, as I talk about that part too, is that I would say to anyone who's listening to this particular podcast, who has a job and also is running a company, I will tell you this: at some point you're gonna have to go all in on one. You can't be 50-50. Look, I tried it a long time ago, and it just don't work. It doesn't work. It doesn't have the same oomph to it. You almost feel like you have a cushion, so you don't work as hard. I tell you to remove that cushion, and if it's your passion, if it's what you want to do, go do it. Go do it. Right.
Right. Now you have inspired me to do a Shark Tank episode.
Wow.
Struggling businesses that may feel like they're out, but they need a partner to come in.
I know it. See what I mean? Look. So here's the thing. You said that, and when you, Erica, and this is the thing that my buddy said to me. He said, "Listen, man. A lot of times people mix personal with business, and you can't do that. For instance, he said to me that a person came to him and wanted to borrow some cash from him, a large amount of cash to help prop up their business. And as he looked to the guy's P&L, he said, the money I'm going to give you, the money you're asking for, it's not going to do it for you. So how about you allow me to be a 20 to 25, the money I'm going to give you, allow me to be a 20 to 25% partner. And so if that cash flow doesn't work, now I can jump in and to really help you. And it's a win-win for everyone. Because I got to say something to you guys out there, man. People don't have money to fund your dreams, right? And then to fund your dream and you don't have the money to fund your dream. There's only very few people that are going to do that, right? And if I'm honest, I've had some in this particular business right here, man. I've run into individuals who are ready to jump on board with us, right? They seen everything we did. They seen our trademark. They seen everything, and they want to be a part of this amazing business, right? I just hadn't decided if I'm ready for them to be a part of it yet. And that, in regards to business, Erica, if you run up against an individual that knows their value and their worth and things of that nature, and most people are like, well, I don't want to do business with that person. Absolutely, you want to do business with them. You want to do business with them, Erica, because your mindset and how you feel about growing a business and an individual that already has a pretty solid foundation, it's going to work. It's the part where you have the 80-20 going on, where 80% of the business is at the bottom, and then you bring that 20%. Well, you know, it doesn't necessarily jive as well. And I'm a big 80-20 guy, too, when it comes to business. I'm an 80-20 guy. I spend 80% of my time on the things that work and 20% of the time that might work. That's
right. Well, I think now, so if anybody on here feel like they're about to go out or go under,
right? Because it's real.
I do want to say this. Now we got to agree to disagree. That the money is out here. You have to go find it.
Gotta go find it.
So to support your dream, you got to put together, you got to do your work now. You got to put together your plan, your business plan, make it solid. But you can crowdfunding. You can, a lot of these smaller banks, not your bigger brick and mortar that's got 50,000 people to come and apply for PPP on April the 3rd. Right. They can turn you away, but some of these little banks are really looking to build relationships, or they need to meet their quotas to make loans on various things. So some of your smaller credit unions, some of your smaller banks, I know that a friend of a friend, her husband got like $10 million under this SBA money, and he was automatically like approved 2 weeks ago. And it was through a smaller bank because all they got to do is push the information to SBA once they have underwritten it. And some of them, and that's where people relationships come in too, because when you build that rapport with various people and they believe in who you are, your work ethic, and what you can bring to the table, they may be more apt to allow you to borrow the money in order to leverage yourself to the next level. So I think that it's not so much you having financial skin in the game, but you've done your homework and you got a solid plan and you built that relationship. Because if you look around some of these MLMs, they pulling in people. Why? Based on relationships. Right. Off of the product.
It's funny. Listen, I think people, I get approached by MLMs a lot. I've gotten approached by 1 million MLMs, and which is okay because, you know, it's a business, and I don't have any problem with that. You know, I actually was a spokesperson at one point for MLM. I used to fly out to Provo, Utah, and actually speak in front of thousands of folks, right? But I was never in the business. I just came to get a check and fly back home because of but I had another business though, and my business was being a motivator. I mean, you know, that's part of our revenue in regards to our company, my particular company, and who I am is making money as being a motivational speaker or coming in to share the good news with just anyone in regards to the business. And so with that being said, though, when I talk about, you know, someone funding your business, I always look at it like this. You know, like I tell my children, you know, I have a 7-year-old and a 10-year-old. I tell my son all the time, you know, I want to help you when you want to help yourself, right? When you've done everything you can and you hit a roadblock, I want to be able to help you at that point. But if there's 10 things to do and you've only done 2 and you do 8, well, I got a problem with that. Because then that tells me that I care more about your business than you do. And if I care about more than your business than you do, let's flip it. Let me get 80% of it and you get 20% then. And then for me, well, now it's my business. And so And the second thing is, I learned this from a gentleman that I actually worked for at one point. And I never thought this statement was that true until it kind of happened to me. He said, a lot of times concepts pay more money than businesses. And the reason why is because concepts, no one knows the infinity of the business. No one knows what the business can do. But when it becomes a business, when it becomes a full-fledged business and you're doing business, you then are able to scale it, and it may not be scaling as high as you were when you were in a concept or when you're in the thought process phase. So ideas pay, right?
Right.
And some people, just like songwriters, a lot of people can write songs, but they can't sing them, right? And that's how I look at businesses. That's how I drove my businesses. That Second Friday business, man. If I told you guys how much revenue that business brought in, man, people are astonished when I tell them that. They are astonished. They're like, what? A party? An event? Amazing revenue.
Well, and you know what? And I'll tell you this, because I remember when you started Second Friday.
Yep.
But a lot of people don't pick up on this kind of stuff, but I'm going to tell you what I picked up on it.
Give it to me.
Okay. On your flyers.
Yep.
You had Budweiser as a sponsor.
Right on.
And that was reducing your overhead cost. Whereas people out here, they want to be the person had a party, they be throwing out their flyers, but you offset, and now, I mean, because that's been over 10 years. That's been
it was over 10 years,
years ago. But I noticed then on your flyer as to how you were doing some of it through the Budweiser sponsor. I can't think of who else was on the flyer.
I can tell you the ones that started off. It was so beautiful. I can tell you the story about how that happened. It was just amazing. Budweiser was at the particular point. They were looking for they were looking to introduce a new type beverage. They were looking to introduce a new beer. They're looking low carbs were in then at the time. Low carb beers, but really what they were looking for, and at that particular time, the people we were catering to were Black folks, and we were just coming out of the era of Black folks really understanding what quality beer was. For a long time, malt liquor was the leading in the areas in the Black community, and so Budweiser was moving. Those companies were moving into trying to figure out ways to really get a hold on the Black community. They were losing revenue shares not to other beer companies; they were losing revenue to liquor companies. Right. And so they saw this as an opportunity that we were bringing in 400 or 500 people, and they figured 400 or 500 people can branch off to 400 or 500 more people. And so then the Budweiser name stuck. Right. But for me, what it did for me, it not only gave me free product. Budweiser not only paid a fee every month, but it gave me instant credibility with other companies, right?
Right.
Good companies, banks. I had a bank sponsor an event for us plenty of times. A bank that I was dealing with, a very good relationship with a bank. We had a car dealerships, tons of car dealerships wanted to be a part of what we were doing, and so the same energy, the same thought process that went into that goes into this. It's the same exact thing.
And then when you cut down your expenses, right, that reduces your losses and increase your profit. So you also have to look at your P&L statement, bringing the P&L statement back to see who can I get to finance this, set this, so I can eliminate this bill.
Well, it's so beautiful though, because once banks and things of that nature, and at that time, once banks saw who actually they saw the revenue coming in, we were having these meetings, they were asking those questions. Well, who are your customers and who's giving you this revenue? Once they found out that I had these particular entities sewing into our business, it made it more comfortable for them to do it as well.
Right.
Because they were funding the same businesses anyway. They were funding the same businesses. So it made it more. Matter of fact, it was a car dealership right across the street from one of the banks. He walked over there He went there every day, the owner of the car dealership, a huge, large car dealership. He went there every day to the bank. And he basically said to the bank, he said, you need to get this guy whatever he wants because he produces. He produces. And that was, you talk about P&L, man, that was it was the real deal, right? And so you talk about relationships. Relationships are, I tell people all the time, relationships, Erica, relationships will help your P&L. It will help your cash flow. It'll help your cost of goods. It'll help your gross profits. It'll help your net profit. It'll help your help deal with your taxes. It'll help deal with SBA. It'll help deal with all those things. Relationships. And you burning bridges. If you're gonna burn one, you better make sure you never have to go across it again because it won't be there. So,
well, thank you so much. I really enjoyed talking to you, and we went longer than I.
Sorry.
But I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I'm so glad that you were able to give us your insight.
Listen, I tell everybody is that Erica, I've always respected you. You were actually one of my sponsors back in the day, man, on a couple of comedy shows. And my only job at that particular time was to show you and show everybody else that I was out working hard and driving the business. So you understand that what you put your money into was a formidable business. And that was probably 12 years ago. I remember doing that show, right? And so here we are again, being sustainable in a marketplace. We're still around. We're still driving the business. We're still making money. But more importantly, we're still sharing how this particular opportunity can happen for everybody else. And with that being said, for me, listen, we are Black Folks Camp 2. You can go to our website, blackfolkscamp2.com. Go to our website, listen to our podcast, purchase you some gear, but more than anything, share our story. I think you'll enjoy what we do.
All right. Thank you so much.
All right, Erica. Take care of yourself, girl.
All right, bye.
Bye-bye.